Welcome back to Ready or Not for Dummies, where we will be going over the requirements to achieve the coveted S rank in Ready or Not. First, I just want to go over a couple definitions because they will be used pretty frequently throughout this video. A target is any non-SWAT AI or player character entity on the level. Targets are broken down into their two subcategories, which are suspects and civilians. A suspect is any target that is hostile towards the SWAT team, while a civilian is any target that is friendly towards the SWAT team. The term incapacitation refers to the dizzy symbol on any target that is unconscious. Meanwhile, death is symbolized by the skull symbol on any target. Suspects can fake this skull symbol, but they can never fake the dizzy symbol, being incapacitated. Reporting is the action of communicating a target's current status to TOC. Arresting and or restraining the targets is the action of placing the zip tie handcuffs onto them. The final term I'm going to be using is evidence. In this case, it refers to both suspect weapons as well as the mission or map specific objectives, such as the meth packages on 213 Park Homes or the specific guns of interest on Brissa Cove. There are a few base requirements across missions you can expect to complete when attempting to earn an S rank, and they are as follows. You should expect to complete all the given objectives when you press the tab button during gameplay. You should expect to have to report and restrain all the targets on the level, along with collecting all the loose evidence that those targets have. You can have no officers down throughout completing the mission. And at the time of this recording, there is no time requirement for getting the S rank. That is the TLDR version of how to get the S rank. For the rest of the video, I'm going to be going over some tips for each of the previously mentioned line items. First are some notes on the given objectives. If a mission objective states you must arrest a target of interest, this indicates that at a minimum, they must be restrained in the incapacitated state. If you are the direct cause of this state, that is, you use deadly force without the proper authorization, you will not be able to get the S rank. For example, the S rank is still achievable if you have a situation where a suspect incapacitates a civilian, but the civilian does not die. To continue this line of logic, a suspect, such as Gerald in the Ridgeline mission, can be incapacitated by authorized means to achieve the S rank. That is to say, as long as you follow the ROE, ensure that he is incapacitated and not fully dead, make sure you restrain him, and then continue to secure his evidence that's attached to that encounter, you will be awarded the full points associated with that arrest. So keep in mind, as long as you were to receive no deductions for ROE violations, a clean arrest with no shots fired is technically worth the same number of points as if they had one singular drop of blood left keeping them alive. Next up are notes on the reporting and restraining of suspects and civilians. The points are not calculated before the mission begins. In other words, there is never a set amount of evidence or weapons that the suspects will be carrying. For example, a suspect could have no weapon in their hand and never be given the chance to pull that weapon out. You will only be awarded 35 points for when you restrain and report that suspect, but you also will not be penalized as if you never collected their evidence. Similarly, a suspect with a bomb vest will have no evidence to secure at all, even though they have a bomb vest on. A suspect can also start with no weapons as mentioned previously, and then proceed to fake surrender multiple times, pulling out knives and guns from their infinite pockets. The score total at the end of the mission will depend on the total number of weapons the suspects pulled on you throughout the total mission. Keep in mind the 3 actions you need to complete whenever you have an incapacitated suspect. You gotta make sure you report them, you gotta make sure you restrain them, which is extremely easy to forget to do, and finally you have to remember to pick up all the evidence that suspect had. To avoid any of the confusion with the points as they appear on your HUD during your gameplay, I recommend allowing the SWAT AI to restrain and report any of the suspects or civilians you come across. The reason for this is because when you're reporting and restraining an incapacitated suspect yourself, you are only awarded +5 points for the report and then when you go to restrain that target, it will appear as though you gain no further points. This is not true. You will still gain the points when you do the action yourself. It's just, it never appears. Moving on to the collection of evidence. This is probably the second most common reason you're going to not get the S rank. I have found it's most common that the suspect's weapon will just clip through an object or the floor. In this event, you can always have the SWAT AI near you and try to use them to collect the evidence. In order to do this, you can just go to the command interface, and then the confirm order request option should be available if they can pick up that evidence. If you're 100% confident there's evidence in that location and your SWAT AI cannot see it and you can't get it, you're kind of out of luck. For more information on this exact topic, you can watch my Ready or Not for Dummies SWAT AI episode, and that will give you some more information. There's really no notes to give you on the no officers down and the time requirements, as they changed the no officers down from no officers injured, which was nearly impossible to do, so big props to if you got an S rank when that was the thing. And there is no time requirement, and I think the addition of one would be a bad move. Some tips on mission selection. If you ever do a mission for hostage rescue or active shooter, keep in mind a lot of people think these come down to spawn RNG. I am also kind of in that camp. If you ever run into trouble trying to get the S rank on one of these, you might just need to restart a couple times to get a better spawn location for the suspect or suspects. As far as getting an S rank without having to put much effort into your loadout, I recommend having one lethal and one non-lethal on your loadout at all times, whether that be your primary, secondary is up to you. If you're going to take a lethal primary weapon, I would take the SA-58. 7.62 by 51 is a beast. If you're going to take a lethal as your secondary, I recommend either the 5.7 or the Glock, mostly due to magazine capacity. Your long tactical choice does not have much impact on your performance throughout the mission. However, I prefer the breaching shotgun. As far as armor goes, I recommend taking heavy armor, but with steel coverage on the front and back only. This is because ceramic plates will cover the same caliber of rounds, however they will shatter and break after a few rounds. Steel plates will never break during a mission. After my realization of not needing to take suspects fully alive, meaning I could take them incapacitated, I have stopped taking gas grenades. As a result, I take stingers now. I also recommend taking at least 2 C2 charges just in case. That's going to wrap up this episode of Ready or Not for Dummies. I really appreciate it if you watched through the whole thing. Be sure to leave me any questions or comments you have down below. Have a good one, guys.